a little bit of a fire. I'm working on Rotary Car. Got an alternator mounted up, seen last time. But I did get 3D printed these coil mounts. Ran the wiring inside, and it comes out this little junction box. Really nice. I think it turned out pretty good. Holds the coils really nice, solid. Did get radiator mounts. The upper ones welded on. Don't knock my welds. They're SEMA quality, but my first time at aluminum. And then got a radiator hose. This one should mount to the motor. Did get 120. I'm not 100% on that one yet. 90 degree, 1.5 inch, comes out the bottom of the radiator. Did get a 180 out of stainless, 1.5 inch, and then do have an 1.75 inch coming. That should be delivered tomorrow. But radiator hose. Ew. This one will go down in there somehow. And thought is, this will go down and loop underneath this bar. There's some space underneath that the tubing can go through, and that one will be on that lower hose. So now, need to figure out how to do the upper hose. Hopefully, we'll end up having enough left over. I don't know if I can take that and use that hard. I want to have a little bit of soft line between hard pipe and the motor, because there will be there's not going to be any movement on the motor because it is solid mounted, but you have a little bit of flex for heat. So I'm going to keep tinkering around. Motor is in. Did also get the fuel cell. You've seen that through that. Let's carry it with. This is a 10-gallon fuel cell. First fit. Fits in the trunk good. I think I'm going to try and recess it, cut a box, and actually feed it from below up into the trunk. Kind of hard to see being all dark and stuff, but do need to keep off to the side enough because the exhaust will be underneath here, muffler. The battery will end up going here. I think I'll raise it maybe up to this height, which is a good 3 inches above. So raise that, that'll give me a little airspace. But with tank in the fuel, or in the trunk floor, the lines will be outside. Now the other fuel cell I have has rollover vents, so I might have to just loop these, maybe one go each way. This tank has a sending unit, so I'll have to see if that works. This is a cheap Evil Energy off Amazon. It does have some foam inside it, so might just pull that foam out and just scared of it going bad or deteriorating, plugging up the pump. But yeah, plugging along on this. Do have the shifter, nice pretty shift knob made up, and the shifter's off center a little bit, so I'm going to try and bend just a little bit because reverse, it wants to hit that cover. I don't want to cut this out because of rubber boot. I can use the original rubber boot from Austin Healing, and this would mount in the original screw locations, other than it used to be up here a little farther, so as you've seen before, it moved it back a little bit. With that little tab on the radiator there, got rubber grommet bushing that's going to mount to the bottom, and this little bracket just bent up, quick, simple, mount to that. Drilled a couple holes in this piece across the top. Those are going to be spot welds, spot welded on. And with that, nice little weld. Radiator's all mounted. Pretty sturdy, but it does have a little cushion to it, so hopefully it won't crack this aluminum. So I made this box. The metal goes around the fuel tank, and then the fuel cell has tabs coming off of it, and I think I'm going to build spacers. These nuts I welded up. I ended up had to drill them out, so I'll be able to put a lock nut on top, but weld this on there, and I'll have a spacer between here and the bottom of the tank, and the tank will hang from inside this. So once I get where the nut is at, little notch in there, 4 times, I'll get this set in here where it's square level wise, and then be able to burn it in down along the sides. But this cut is really nice. In the garage today, weather definitely got a little colder. I think a radio's saying 33 inside here. Definitely need to hook the floor up, get the heat in here at some point. But today, I'm going to try and do a little bit. Do have the fuel cell mounted in the rotary car. I kind of borrowed this pump from Mom and Dad's stash of parts. So we're going to try and hook up a fuel pump, get that mounted. The fuel cell has -10 lines, which I lucked out because this is the original, one of the oil drains from the International little big truck, which is -10. So I'll be able to run from fuel cell to the pump. Might have to shorten this line a little bit, but go around the pump. I need to get an adapter to go in here, -10, and then I think I'll just convert it down to -8 up to the motor. I have a little bit extra, a couple fittings, so that should work. The radiator, all the plumbing of that is done except for the oil cooler, which when you're at 30 degrees, I don't think you need so much an oil cooler. Upper radiator hoses in it, lower radiator hoses in it. Do need a little tab going from the bottom of this pipe because it can bounce a little bit. But I do need to go from here all the way around the motor, and I think I'll weld in a pipe that mounts it for coolant return. Did get mounts in there. Radiators really solid. That worked out really well. Do need to do some duct work to fill in this gap. Do have the original pieces that can work. Got coil mounts. Do need to make whether it be Heim joints or a bracket to hold the alternator up to get that mounted in. Fuel cell, like I said, is mounted, and that's actually inside the floor. That's actually adjustable height based on these spacers, so I can raise or lower that fuel cell, which I think is kind of cool. Need to do seat, braking system, but I think the fuel lines and brake line will run through the floor here, up alongside the trans tunnel, and run through the firewall here, which on the other side is a nice open spot. Hopefully you can see. Nice open spot down in that area, and come up, go to the engine. Under the back of a Rotary Car, we got this Evil Energy fuel cell. Need to get correct bolts for the length of spacers that I made. But -10, 2 outlets. This little motor will only need one. This up here. But this motor does have a return line. So need to figure out where to mount the fuel pump, and with this braided steel line to save me from redoing it or shortening. Let's just bend it around and see where it wants to be at. I might just put the pump up there. Now, one thing to keep in mind on this, the exhaust is now on the passenger side instead of originally on the driver's side. Not a big deal, but there will be a muffler here. Oh, muffler's gonna get hot, so fuel pump here in between the tank and the muffler might be a bad idea without a deflector or a shield of some sort. But I'm thinking we're gonna put this pump just like the tank, drill a hole that's yay big diameter, and mount this right up underneath so it's not hanging down low. I don't really like them mounted on their side. I like them more upright. Pretty sure there's not a problem with mounting these any different direction, but if we mount that way, we have no room for a muffler. So I'm thinking up there. Now, lengthwise, again, I'm missing the correct fitting. That's -8, that's -10, but we can eyeball and go about in that area somewhere. So I'm gonna mark this and try and drill a hole in this beautiful 30-degree garage. Let's deburr that hole, take a little piece of angle iron, mount on there, possibly weld it onto the bottom of the floor, and that'll be it, mounted. A little bit of trimming off that, weld it onto there. I think that'd be good and solid spot. That should mount it pretty nicely. Oh, we'll give that a few minutes to cool. We got a little bracket. I'd like to be able to weld up there, but I can't get the welder end on that. Ow! That bolt's sticking out. Oh, right on the head. Radiator, lower radiator hose, piping, whatever you want to call it, it's in there. But it can move. So let's build a little tab that bolts onto there. I do need to buy one of them nutsert rivet guns, so it'd be a perfect spot for a nutsert to go in there. But let's find some metal and build a little tab. I did put a little washer underneath there to space it up and make sure there's a little bit of room. And built the little tab. Like I said, I want to put one of the nutserts in there so it'd be a little thicker material than what this thin gauge steel actually is. But threading that hole for right now will hold it. Run a little weld across there and we're done. Just like that. Nice solid mounted lower radiator hose. Or pipe. Hose, pipe, whatever you want to call it. Back to the back. And that mounting placement works really well. Come out of this fitting, and whether I do 90, actually 90 would work great, and then right up over the back, and then we'll come out from the floor on where we widened it here. Fuel pump's in, need some wiring.